A billionaire man went in for penis enlargement surgery and breathed his last during the surgery. This shows how men are slaves to female validation, approval, thumbs up, or acceptance, even as a billionaire. Even with all his wealth, he still felt he needed to satisfy a woman or women sexually to feel validated as a man, or didn't want women he had sex with to continue to look down on him for having penis size they don't like, or in this case, they didn't like, or probably still don't like. I've been called impotent many times by some men for choosing to be a monk. An interesting thing was, I never felt offended on each of those occasions because it gets to show how these men value themselves. I mean, what if they are right that I'm impotent? So, not being able to impregnate a woman, or a woman finds you unsatisfactory during sex, is what determines you are not a man, because a man's life purpose must revolve around vagina, or a woman, right? I don't dispute everything feminists say these days, because their claim that men are stupid and dumb are not just true, but facts. A, all a human being needed to have to control millions of men or amass huge power over men is to have a vagina and boobs. Men will personally tie ropes around their necks and give women the ropes to drag and do with them whatever they will. I mean, you tend to wonder why men would allow one part of their bodies, in this case, their penis, to destroy the entire bodies. It's not unfortunate, it's just pathetic. I know universe, nature, biology, God, gods, or whatever you want to call it, had to make men to naturally have high sexual drive for humans to reproduce. For if men's sex drive is as low as the women, human beings would go into extinction millions of years ago, or wouldn't even be over 1,000 humans on Earth. But that same sex drive can doom a man, since everything has positive and negative sides, like I always say. I mean, even the first man on earth, according to Bible, yeah, doomed himself as well for that. But one thing I know is not all men allow that sex drive to control their entire bodies, determine their life purposes, or be slaves to that drive. Men had entered sea, oceans, and sailed for months or years to fulfill their life purposes without sex many years ago, discovering other continents, races, lifestyles, etc. Name them. Most religious and spiritual icons lived celibate lives to fulfill their life purposes, which most of the world now celebrate or worship. There are numerous religious and non-religious monasteries. Yes, monasteries scattered all over the world, filled up with monks. So when majority of men claim or behave as if women or vagina is where they get their life purposes from, you will feel sorry for them. Honestly, there's nothing wrong in wanting to satisfy your biological urge, but it has become a tool men are manipulated with. I mean, Samson and Delilah story has always been a case study. The earlier men tried to portray the major weakness of men, no matter how strong men physically are. And these earlier men used that opportunity to warn we, the future men. But the same future men will shame you for not succumbing to that weakness. Some future men, yeah, what do you even call them? Millennial, however, have created sex dolls for men to satisfy their biological urge without putting themselves in harm's way. Hmm. Even some sex dolls users have testified that sex toy vagina feels the same, even better than the life their life or the human woman vagina during sex. Imagine. But then majority of men will call these sex toy users weak men for not slaving up for women. I wonder who you call millennial in this case. And women would shame these men as losers, even though majority of these modern women have dildos, vibrators, or other forms of sex toys. But most of the modern men, women are allowed to satisfy themselves sexually with any means they want, but men are not allowed to satisfy themselves sexually outside female bodies, or how dare you, without female approval, which gives me women power over men to do whatever they will. A lot of men and women that would watch this video would hate me. Yes, they would definitely hate me or continue to call me names, especially men, talking about men in this case, for speaking the unspeakables. Well, I say those things other men are afraid to say because they don't want to offend people, even though most of them think the same thing. But if that billionaire had realized that he must not have sense to bother himself with what his woman or women he was sleeping with, think about the size of his penis, which means nothing, absolutely nothing. He probably would have lived, or probably still living. If him, that billionaire, and other men that committed suicide because women disapproved them, disliked them, never wanted to have sex with them, or didn't get validation from women that matter so much to them, if they had realized that there were other ways to satisfy that biological sex drive and fulfill their life purposes, I mean, in this case, I'm still talking about the sex bot or sex robot. So, if they've realized there are other ways you can fulfill their life purposes without giving a rip about having sex or focusing so much on having sex with women, what they probably would have been the next Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla's, Jesus of Nazareth. Yes, I dare say that. 12 apostles of Jesus and the disciples, the great prophets of Old Testament, the Shakespeare, the Wright brothers, Christopher Columbus, I mean, name them. Majority of men have no idea how unlimited potentials they possess and greatness waiting for them to discover. If only they could realize their lives are not limited to their penises. Honestly, this is Ikenna 351 Monk, Lion King, signing off.